part of our mammoth 24-hour live stream, Gio sat down and interviewed Paul Colborne, aka Bubbles, aka the guy who ran on the pitch against Burnley with the corner flag. Gio asked him some really interesting questions here about what it was like from the perspective of the guy who actually did that, what it was like when he ran on the pitch, what did he say to James Collins when he ran onto the pitch, and what he's doing now with Hammers United to try and affect grander changes at West Ham. We are uploading all of our interviews from that 24-hour live stream on this second channel, on Hammers Chat Forum channel, so make sure to subscribe, and at the end of this video there'll be another one there for you to click, but I'll let Paul take it away and introduce himself fully.
My name's Paul Colborne. Some people at West Ham know me as Bubbles, and some people know I'm the bad man who got the corner flag and tried to stick it in the centre spot. And I'm one of the people who've put together Hammers United. We have now 8 people on the committee and a legal advisor, and I'm one of those people.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to get into Paul's Hammers United in a little bit. Before that, I want to talk to you particularly about the Burnley game, especially. I mean, well, first of all, how long have you been following West Ham prior to everything?
My first match was 68, Forest at home. We won 3-0. But my mum and dad, see, I live in Hertfordshire, and they wouldn't let me go. Like a lot of my pals at West Ham, they went at a much younger age with all their schoolmates. But my mum and dad wouldn't let me go till I was 13 on my own. So I started going every home game in about 69. And I barely missed a home game for millions of years. And then in about 70, I sort of, you had your rite of passage. You went to Ipswich and Coventry and Leicester away, games like that. And by about 72, I went to Huddersfield in the Cup. I think we lost 1-0. That was 72, I think. And that's a long way. And then did just about all the away games for a long while. And then I cut down to about half of them. And then, of course, it came to an abrupt end. Last year.
Before it came to an abrupt end, if you like, there was sort of a build-up. Now, all this March stuff happened, but what was your thoughts on the March as it was being planned, etc.? Were you one of the ones that said, we're thinking we need to do something, we need to do something as a fan base?
Oh, most definitely. I was totally behind the March. I was totally behind action in general. And I haven't really changed my stance. I think something has to be done. I think they treat the supporters with disdain, and really nothing's changed since the March. They did spend money, and we will know soon. Well, you know, this summer window is very, very important. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So, would you like to? I know your version of events a little bit, okay, but everybody watching this might not know. Talk us through the Burnley game in the eyes of Bubbles.
Well, my friends and I decided we were going to march anyway, and we knew that there was a march. I think some of them called it a stroll, and this was going to start in West Ham Park. Now, that was not an illegal gathering, but I thought that if there's too many people there, the police might break it up. So stupidly, there were about 80 of us. We went to a pub, and the idea was when the march came by, we would join the march. And we learnt a lesson from that. If you're going to go on a march, don't go in a bloody pub. Take my word for it. And, you know, you hear in history, battles, empires are lost, battles are won because a general's got bellyache or something. And some things can be that simple. I had the wrong bloody glasses. I had the glasses that I watched the football match with, the long distance glasses. So I can't even see the messages on my phone. I'm useless with technology. The phone's in my pocket. I can't hear it. And the first thing I knew was my mate Dave Larkham. He said, well, where are you? I said, we're in the pub. He said, we've gone. So we charged out of the pub. Well, I say we charged out of the pub. You're trying to get them out of the pub. One bloke says, I've just bought 6 lagers and 6 Jaeger bombs. I'm not going anywhere. We came out and we'd missed it. And there were other people in other pubs. There were a lot of people, but they all missed it, which was naive and stupid. And from my point of view, I got to the ground and a couple of my mates said, well, where were you? I just felt I'd let them down. I just felt I had to do something because I really felt I'd let them down.
So were you always planning on doing something? When you got to the game, the Burnley game, you got to the ground and you felt like you let people down, etc. Did you think, well, what am I going to do now? Or was it a case of, well, I'm just going to go and enjoy the football now and I'll worry about everything else later?
Well, I just thought I'd go and watch the football now, but that had become more important to me than the football, to be quite frank. But no, when I went in the ground, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't think, right, I'm going to get the corner flag or anything like that. Of course, what happened was I saw some guys go on, which I'll come back to in a minute. And I thought, right, I'm going to go on. And I walked down to the corner flag because that was the natural way of getting on the pitch. And then that's when it came to me. I thought the Bond scheme. Let's reenact the Bond scheme. And of course, that's what I tried to do. But unfortunately for me, or perhaps fortunately in the long run, in the old days, the corner flag had a spike on the bottom. So the idea was to stick it in the centre spot. Of course, now it's plastic and the bloody thing just bent. But of course, if it had a spike, I'd probably be doing 3 years now. So probably wasn't a bad thing.
So the younger people that went on before you in the Burnley games, someone went on, as soon as it was 1-0, someone went on, there was another couple of people that followed him. Did they sort of encourage you, if you like, to go on?
It just gave me, I just thought, oh no, they've gone on, I've got to do something here. But I have to say, I felt sorry for those kids. They were kids. And whilst half the crowd perhaps didn't agree with my actions, half did. And certainly among a lot of my friends, I became a bit of a hero. But these young kids, everyone slagged them down. I think they got attacked, some of them. It just wouldn't have happened in the old days. They'd have been welcomed back in the crowd by their own, as it were, instead of people throwing punches at them. And when you went in the court, those poor kids were terrified. They were just young lads. They had a bloody scrap of paper to point at the board. There were no harm to anybody. Now, okay, I'm not condoning going on the pitch. I knew what I did was wrong. I knew what the consequences were, and I've absolutely no problem with the consequences. No problem with being banned. Knew what I was doing. But those kids, everyone's slagging them down. I thought it was wrong.
What did you feel? What did you feel like when you seen the kids on the pitch, and then you also seen all the commotion under the directors? Everybody was congregating there. Did you feel pride, or what was it that you were feeling at this point?
To be quite frank, I didn't really notice the stuff under the director's box. I was on a mission. Once I got that corner flag, I knew what I wanted to do. And to be frank, Gio, once that corner flag and I held it up, I think I sort of went into shock then, because I sort of realised that what I'd done, there was going to be a lot of repercussions from it. And I think I went into shock for about 2 days. I mean, the steward took me out. He said, "Good on you, mate. I agree with all what you did, but I've got to take your season ticket off you." And then after that, I just hit the pub. And when I said on the other program, as you probably know, when you come home from a night out, you always take more money than you need because you don't know what might crop up. And the next day, I always have the hangover and the headache, and I go all around the house trying to find what money I brought back. I couldn't find any money anywhere. And I called my son. He said, "Well, you spent it all, Dad." He said, "You spent everything. He said, I had to get the last round in." I just went into shock for a couple of days. And I didn't really notice what was going on around the director's box.
What did you say to James Collins on the pitch? I think this is fantastic, but what did you say to him?
James said, what are you doing? And I said something like, "Look, James, you've been here 12 years or something. I've been doing 50. Get out of the way." He was really nice, because let's face it, James Collins could crush me with one hand. He was really pleasant, and the players can't admit it, but James Collins, he knew what was going on. A lot of the players are on the supporters' side. I mean, there was a game, wasn't there, a couple of games before, when the supporters were showing their display. James Collins sort of went like that, didn't he? As if to say, "Where's the money gone?" But he was a real nice guy, which is just as well, because he's a big lad. But it was quite amicable. Yeah.
So what happened after the Burnley game? Because obviously there was consequences, which we all know of. But how did it work for you? What came after the Burnley game?
Right. Well, the next day I obviously had some thinking to do, and I thought it's pretty bloody obvious that I'm going to get a knock on the door. And I run my own business, and what I really didn't need was a knock on the door a day when I've got some business on, and then my customers get let down. So basically, I got a cab to Hatfield, which is the nearest police station, and gave myself up. And they didn't know what it was all about. And I said, "Well, if you Google it, match of the day, you'll see what it was." They seemed to think it was quite funny. And they said, "Okay, we've got your name and address. We'll send you your details through to the Met." And the Met eventually got in touch. And I went up there. And they had a job to do, but they didn't treat me like a criminal or anything. I think they thought it was a bit of a joke, to be quite honest. I think they were on our side as well. But eventually, of course, I got charged and had to go to court.
You got quite a lot of support from the fan base through all this, didn't you?
Yeah, very much so. It was very humbling. Obviously, I'm not going to mention any names, but for a start, the Football Supporters Federation, they give you a free solicitor. And I was getting sort of offers everywhere. People wanted to do this thing, you raise money or something. I said, well, there's no way I want you to do that. That would be embarrassing. But in the end, a chap who is helping us actually on Hammers United, he phoned and he said that I'll defend you free of charge. There's a fancy word for it, pro bono, I think, which was really humbling. And he actually also got me a barrister, and God knows what sort of money they're on. And the barrister was free of charge as well, though unfortunately the barrister wasn't well. So that was very humbling. And then the next thing I knew, a knock on the door, one of the local West Ham fans, he said, "Hey, I'll have these, Paul." And I said, "Well, what are they?" And they were little plastic badges. He said, "Sell them towards your fine," which I did. And the next thing I knew, another fella rang up, Joe from Hemel, another good lad, drinks in the little driver. Sorry, the first lad's name was Ewan. I should thank Ewan. And Joe had these enamel badges, and he said, "Look, we're selling." He said, "I'll take half because I've got to pay for because obviously it costs money to get them done, and you have half towards your fine." And I've still got some left. That's not a plug, but hardly any. But the point being, when I've sold them all, it will just about exactly pay for what it cost me. So I got a tremendous amount of support from the fan base. Thanks. Yeah.
Do you regret it?
No.
Why don't you regret it? You've lost your ability to go to a football game or support West Ham for the rest of your life.
One of the reasons when I went to court that they applied the football banning order was that I showed, quote, no remorse whatsoever. To me, Gio, there's no point in protesting about something and then, that's all right, I won't protest anymore because they might find me some more money or they might not let me in the football ground. You've got to have the courage of your convictions, and you either believe in something or you don't. And my convictions are as strong as they've ever been, that these people treat the supporters with disdain and they should be held accountable for the lies. I'm not going to say broken promises because they were lies. And I've not changed my stance at all. So no, I don't regret it at all.
Do you believe the Burnley game protests in general affected the £100 million transfer spend? Do you think that's why they spent so much money?
It would be nice to say it did. I have no idea. Maybe.
What do you believe, though? What's your opinion? A lot of fans think, yes, that is why the board spent money. A lot of fans think that they spent money because they didn't spend money in the previous 2 or 3 seasons. It's sort of added up, and some think that it had nothing to do with the protests whatsoever. What's your personal opinion?
It might be. It could be a bit of each. It probably was a bit of each, Joe. But I mean, the thing that we're doing at the moment, which I will make the point when it comes to it, if the fans just roll over and just let them tickle their stomach, tickle their belly, it's just going to go. It's just going to get even worse. So it must have done some good. It must have made them think, look, we've got to do something because we've gone over the line. Now these people aren't going to take this anymore. But who knows?
Has anyone told you what you did was wrong? Any fans told you what they think?
I can honestly say they haven't. But then they're all my mates, and my mates are of the same ilk as me, and all my mates feel the same way I do. Possibly if I mix in different circles, I'm sure there must be some. I know there must be people out there that you see it on social media that disagree with what I did. But in my circle of friends, everyone feels the same as I do, and everyone thought it was great, basically.
Interesting at all. But anyway, let's move on to, we'll get a question from the live chat at the end. So there's people watching this thinking, ask this or ask him that about Burnley, etc. Keep it for another 10 minutes or something, because I want to talk to Bubbles now about Hammers United. I think a lot of people watching this, you may not be aware about it. It's not being covered on YouTube too much. I mean, Bubbles went on American Hammers TV. That's why I know quite a lot about it. And I've also spoke to you on the phone prior to this, and you're interacting in social media circles now. But what is Irons United?
Hammers United.
Yeah, what is Hammers United?
Yeah, it's basically a supporters movement. Our prime aim was to get the board round the table to put the fans' concerns, grievances, and have meaningful dialogue. Now, some may say that was a bit naive. What else can you do? that's the way you have to do things. You have to be reasonable. You have to ask them to talk. We did say, you know, we had a statement of intent which said this, but also what cannot be forgotten, it's very important. It's no good the club suddenly, you know, treating the supporters better and everything and spending no money at all in the transfer window. The two have to come together. They have to spend reasonable money. We're not being bloody silly. We're not suggesting they challenge the top six, which they said they would, incidentally, but we're not suggesting that. We're suggesting that they maintain a good level of expenditure and start meeting the supporters groups with an aim to improving things. Also, something I feel very strongly about, my biggest bugbear at West Ham is that so many loyal fans that I've known for pushing 50 years, home and away, every game have walked away. And in my small, modest business, if I've got customers who've been coming ages and suddenly stop coming, I'm on the phone. Well, what's happened? You know, have I upset you? What's gone wrong? They don't care. And I really would like to see them reach out to these supporters and try and get them back.
So whose idea is it to form Hammers United?
Mine. I had been thinking about it, and I sort of headhunted 20 people who I thought, or I knew some of them, I thought others would share the same views. We held an initial meeting and we all agreed that failure, it was just not an option. It would just make things worse. We had a long, hard meeting to deliberate whether we should even launch, because we felt if we launch, we have to succeed, as it would just make things worse. And we did launch. It was not a good time. The fan base is fractured. And we only had, I think, 4 home games before the end of the season. We knew we wouldn't get momentum going. But the final straw was my friend Lee, who is our joint secretary. He phoned West Ham to pay his season ticket money. It was a Band 2 season ticket. He said, right, that'll be so-and-so. And they said, no, it's X amount. And he said, no, but it's Band 2. And they said, no, we've moved it to Band 1. They never told him. And I think it's a really underhand way of putting the price up. And that was the final straw. And we said, sod it, we're gonna go anyway, even though the timing was bad.
So what have you done since then? You've obviously had a few meetings. You've contacted the club. Have you had any success with contacting West Ham?
No, I mean, we've done a lot. But if you're talking just with West Ham, as we expected, firstly, there was quite a long wait. Then eventually they replied and they said that our letter dated March the 26th, I think it was, hadn't been received until May something, and they didn't understand why that was. They're just unbelievable, because obviously the letter was signed for, and we've got the signature, I think it was Rebecca, signed for West Ham on March the 27th, but they said they didn't receive it till May. Just another lie. And they said they'd be considering it and would get back to us. They then wrote back, which we expected, hiding behind the official supporters board and suggesting that we apply for a position on that. We then balloted our members, which is the correct thing to do, on whether we should do that, whether we should look to get representation on the official supporters board. And by a majority of 90% to 10%, our members said no way. It's basically the official supporters board. It's not democratically elected. It's not representative of the fan base. I think they have like an independent panel appoints these people. It's just no good. I think Brady sets the agenda, and our members, it doesn't matter what I think anyway, our members have said, no, we don't want you applying for a position on that.
So how are you going to, you've got some form of communication with the club. It's not the communication you want, is it? So how are you then going to achieve the latter?
Okay. Well, firstly, what the club are doing, which is obvious, what they hope is that they hide behind the official supporters board, and Hammers United will fizzle out. But where we're going to be different from other organisations, we'll call them, we are going to be proactive. We are not just going to write them a letter saying, oh, we're very disappointed in that, and go away. Now, firstly, there are things you can do without going through the official supporters board. Supporters can contact the club individually, and the club have to respond. So obviously we're dealing with the Football Supporters Federation. We've also got a solicitor. And what we're going to do, we're going to have a proper line set up. So one of the main concerns of our supporters is the stewarding. We'll have guidelines that will be everywhere on our Facebook page, on our website and everything. So if the stewards, in your opinion, treat you unfairly in the match, it will advise you on how to deal with that. But then there'll be an independent line where our people contact us and say, look, I don't think the steward treated me right, or I've been thrown out, or I've been banned or whatever. We will give them advice. So basically, they'll be approaching the club, but we'll be telling them how to do it. And we think that's very important. And that way you can get to the club. Because they do deal with individuals. We have 3 of our members, and we take no credit for it because they did it long before that we were in existence. 3 of our members have been in contact with the club over the Memorial Gardens at Upton Park. So they will talk to people individually. What we have to do, if they're not going to recognise us, there's only so much you can do, I appreciate, but is guide our members. Well, not just our members, guide, we're there for all West Ham supporters, but guide people in how to go about this. I mean, another example, I mean, this official supporters board, as you know, we've had a price increase in the season tickets. They have a bloody subcommittee there to discuss ticketing, and they completely circumvented it. The people didn't even know about it. They didn't discuss it at all. But something that seems to have gone under the radar, and it's a bit above me really, but we've got a guy who is really onto this, and he's done a really good report on it, Stephen Cross. And they're doing this thing, they called it a blockchain. And what it is, West Ham have got a partnership with a company called Socius, Socios, I think it is. Now, the obvious thing that an ordinary guy like me realises is the way it works is that you can buy tokens on your phone. And you buy a tenner's worth of tokens, then you can vote for man of the match, something like this. So if you've got a couple of kids, I mean, I think your friend, your Oppo there, I think he's got 2 children, I think he takes in the match. So one of them wants a tenner's worth and the other one wants a tenner's worth. And the posh way of describing it is if you've got an economically challenged family, well, the way I call it is if you're a bit skint. But straight away, he might have to find 20 quid there. So his children, because they want to vote on man of the match. But more importantly, and I don't really understand this, but my colleague does, they're giving you database. West Ham are giving you data to this Socius, and that can't be good. And the supporters haven't been consulted about it. West Ham, I believe, are the only club in England or Britain that do this. And it's just another way of, is it monetarising? I think the word is monetarising the fan base. And that's got past. Either the official supporters board, I presume, haven't even been told about it, or if they have, even worse, they've not. That, our committee member has written to, chap's name is Kareem Varani, I think. He's the West Ham communications chap, or whatever you call it. And he's written to Karen Brady. And I tell you what, if he doesn't get a reply from them, he'll be going further, because we don't think it's good enough. And I believe the Football Supporters Federation aren't happy with it either.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think it's Socio or whatever, and it's basically like monetizing fans' opinions and stuff. And it doesn't sit great with me as well. I know there's someone else who's looking into this, and they were going to be doing a piece on it. So I've stayed away from it so that he can have a clear run at it, if you like.
Yeah.
Whether he's still going to do a piece of that, I don't know. But I've sort of left it to him. But it generally is, you buy tokens. And the worst thing about it, in my opinion, is it's whoever has the most tokens, your vote counts more. So if you've got 8 tokens, I've got 10 tokens, and we both vote, my vote wins because I've got more tokens than you. So it's sort of like the richer people carry a bigger opinion, if that makes sense. Their opinion's worth more, literally worth more. And that's why it doesn't sit too right with me. But we're going to take questions in the live chat in a minute. So if you're watching live on YouTube, you've got any questions for Bubbles, put them into live chat and I'll get the sensible ones over to him. Paul, how do people become a member of Hammers United? And how many members have you got just now? Okay, we have got, because you can join either by email, and the email address would be unitedhammers@aol.com. On the Facebook page, we'll just type in Hammers United Facebook, and the website would be hammersunited.com. As at the moment, because people can join on by email as well,
we have about 3,000. Hold on, I'll put the specs on. I knew you'd ask me that. Oh, shit, where have I let it down? I think it's, yes, 3,650. What you've got to remember is we've been going 9 weeks. And it's the closed season at the moment, and we're making a steady 35 a day in the closed season. So at that rate, what we want, we're aiming for 5,000 before the season starts. And it was a bad time to launch, but the point is, if we'd have launched at the start of the season, so you've had a home game coming thick and fast where you can make members, we'd have started at 0. Well, next season we start 5,000. So it's not a bad start. We've got a committee already of 8. We have a legal advisor, and we've 2 people coming. No, one person definitely coming to an informal committee meeting again to possibly join the committee. The structure's in place. We've got this constitution, Football Supporters Federation. We were fully affiliated. We've done nothing wrong. I thought it happened very quickly. And actually, they came back to us and said, look, really, we've given you full affiliation. And you should really wait until you've had your constitution formally ratified. So I said, right, well, I've emailed them back. Right, well, how do we do that? Can we put it to a members meeting in August? And if you're not happy with that, then we'll bring the AGM forward to August. So we are still associated to the FSF. And by August, we will be affiliated. We were affiliated, and it was their error. In actual fact, we didn't do anything underhand, and we got the proper certificate. But in hindsight, they said we feel you should get your constitution ratified. So everything's in place, and what we're determined, we're not going to get blooming well bogged down in bureaucracy and red tape. We'll get everything's there that needs to be there. We've had 2 votes already. Everything's voted on. Everything's done properly. We take no money from anyone for anything. We've got leaflets down. I paid for them. So now the game is to get the members in.
We've got a few good questions for you. Before we get on to that, one for myself. Are you in competition with WUSA, the West Ham United Independent Sport?
No, we're not in competition with anybody.
But what you're doing is quite similar, though.
Well, I disagree. We may have the same aims. I've been a member of WUSA since for years, and quite a few of our committee have. In my view, they're decent enough people. They don't seem to get anywhere, and I think possibly through no fault of their own. They've never been able to command the support of the fan base in general. There was a lot of mud thrown at them last year, for right or for wrong, I don't know, but a lot of it stuck, and I just think they can't progress. I just don't think they can progress. And so one option was to become more active in WUSA. But to me, they just get very much involved in paperwork and bureaucracy and Rule 617, A, B, C, and all. And we're going to be a lot more, we are already a lot more proactive. But we're not in competition. I've no problem with WUSA. Good luck to them.
Fantastic. Right, let's switch to the live chat and get some questions. There's a few good ones this here. Straight away, Hammer 1999 says, why is your nickname Bubbles?
Well, actually, at West Ham, I don't know how old you are, Alan, there are several Bubbles. There was Ernie, who sadly is dead. At West Ham, he was Ernie, but in South London, he was Bubbles. I'm the best known Bubbles, and also I think Baz Cox is sometimes called Bubbles. With me, what it was, I don't live in the West Ham area. I know we were kids and we'd all be out, and all I talked about was West Ham, West Ham, West Ham, West Ham. And the fellow called Lunky, who's a Man United fan, he said, well, Christ's sake, shut up with the Bubbles. And it stuck. Oh, I hate the nickname.
Do you? I think it's quite a nice. I think it's quite a nice nickname, actually.
It's not very good when you're trying to pull birds when you're 18 years old. I'll tell you that.
Just don't tell you called Bubbles. Just make something else up. Ashley Mayo says, "What's your favourite out of shepherd's pie and cottage pie? Which one's your favourite?"
Shepherd's pie.
That's what the other one said as well. I think the guest before you said. Lee says, "Would Paul attend games again if given the chance?"
Right. Well, I go to every home game, and I have a beer in the Plaistow Club. I thoroughly enjoy it, and you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people going there that have no intention of ever going in that stadium. Highbury Paul's quite a well-known face at West Ham, goes every single away game, will not set foot in the stadium. So I'm happy as Larry, actually, just going to Plaistow, meeting my friends. No wish to go back in. I missed the away games on the Hornchurch coach. I went to Watford. Obviously, I didn't go in the game. I went to Watford. I went to Fulham. Games like that, Crystal Palace, Watford, Fulham, you can go and sit outside. Somewhere like Leeds away would be probably silly to sit outside on your own. So I'm still in contact with all my friends. And when the police ban is up, who knows?
Interesting.
The West Ham ban's for life. The police ban's 3 years.
Okay, that's interesting as well. That's not too bad then. So you've only got a couple of years left to go here.
Well, West Ham have banned me for life.
Yeah. So is that just home games, or can they ban you for away games?
Well,
as well?
they claim I'm banned home and away, but what they can do is just not sell a ticket. And I would be loath going in an away game, because if my mate Fred say gets me a ticket, and I get carted out, and it could get traced back to him, I'd never forgive myself. So we'll have to see. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge before then, but certainly, I mean, I've got to go and give my bloody passport in next week because England are playing, and that's a pain in the neck.
Yes, I remember you saying about that. Every time England play, you've got to hand in your passport. Strange. Gary Smith here says, are the board, and he's referring to Hammers United here, are the board voted in, or is it a closed shop like the OSB?
Right. Well, obviously, to start with, we started with an ad hoc committee. Then we had a full members meeting. It was a shame because what it was in Plaistow. We tried to support the businesses in Plaistow, and the bloody underground was all out. And we couldn't rearrange it because it was set. We had the meeting room booked. But the committee was ratified by the members there. And we said, does anyone from the floor want to come on? And this fella called Tross, he came out from the floor and was voted on. But we've got a proper constitution. So what will have to happen is every year at the AGM, the committee, everyone will go up for re-election. Everyone, every year.
Okay, but that's good. Ashley again says, in Bubbles' eyes, does he see the current chairman as our worst ever, or just close?
But the current Karen Brady, you mean?
The chairman, so Sullivan, Gold, and Brady, I suppose, as a collective group.
Well, we've not been lucky with owners, but yeah, I think they're the worst.
What makes them worse than the Kerns, for example?
Well, because we haven't got a football ground anymore to call our own. Simple.
Can't argue with that answer, I suppose.
Upton Park could have been redeveloped. They hid behind the bus garage, but the plans were there. It's a fact. They could have redeveloped it to 42,000. You'd have had 42,000 proper, passionate West Ham fans there. They only moved to make money, didn't they?
Nick was asking, do you think like fans' unrest is linked to West Ham's results on the football pitch? Because he's saying that we've had a good season and he feels like everybody's sort of calmed down a little bit now.
Most definitely. We're getting members join. It's the close season, so we're getting 35 a day joining. In the season, you get more because you go into the matches and you get a lot more. But if West Ham spend 25 million in the transfer window, and Wolves spend 120, and Everton spend 100, and Leicester spend 110, the membership will go up. And if West Ham have a diabolical start to the season, it will go up. Most definitely. Whilst the most important thing to me is the heritage being lost, and things like the memorial gardens not being tended, and all those sort of things, and my friends not going, and 400 people being banned for non-criminal offences. And I think the club should reach out to them. They didn't commit an offence. They've not seen the bloody evidence. They have no right to appeal. Diabolical. That's to me. But a lot of the fans, the most important thing, is the results on the pitch.
From the live chat, Thomas Longergan is asking, what does the board have to do to win you over?
Firstly, to me, they can stop treating us with disdain and reach out to the people that have walked away and try and get them back, and just generally be more fan friendly. For instance, the stewards is the thing that comes over most that our members are unhappy with. And West Ham say none of our business. Make it their bloody business. We pay our money to I don't anymore, but our people pay their money to West Ham. Try and genuinely help the fans. Be genuine. really try and care about the fans. But at the same time, they have to invest in the team.
Well, that's your last question. It's from Ash. She says, where does Bubbles think we need to strengthen the squad this summer, and what do we need to spend? So, sorry, your first question about West Ham rather than the board, but what do you make of it?
Well, firstly, I'm an expert at nicking corner flags. I'm not an expert on football. But I think a lot depends really on Winston Reid. Is Winston Reid going to come back? I think if you're going to be any good in the Premiership, you've got to have 2 good players in each position. That's as West Ham, where we've always failed. All our fans, we look at 11. You've got to look at 2 in each position. We've not got 2 good left backs. We've not got 2 good right backs. Centre backs, possibly. Mark had a great end to the season, but he's not getting any younger. We need a young, energetic midfielder. Wingers, I think we've got enough, and I don't know what we're going to do up front, because Arnie's a good player, but who's to say we'll get 3/4 of the way through the season and it won't all happen again? I think we need a reliable striker, and that's going to be difficult with the money.
Fantastic. Bubble, before I say goodbye to you, is there anything you'd like to add or that that I've not asked you about, etc.?
Apart from where I send the bill to,
Gonzo.
Gonzo, okay. But seriously, no, just keep up the good work. Thanks for letting me on. I would say, if you don't mind, my colleague's piece on this partnership with Socias, it's on your it's on the Hammers United page on your Hammers chat, and people really should read it. It really is good. I think it's called Time to Engage. But no, thanks very much for having me, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Lovely to see you in person. We spoke on the phone and stuff, so it's lovely to have a
we'll try and have a beer next year. When the big day comes, we've all got to have a beer and get together.
Sure, I'll see you next season for a beer anyway. Take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Okay, bye-bye. Bye.
You can now purchase a season ticket for the Hammers Chat boats for the 2019-20 season. Prices start from £60 and includes entry to all boats events that we may have, including cup games and friendlies at the London Stadium next season. Please get in touch via email at hammerschat@gmail.com or via Twitter, hammers_chat. All details are in the description below. Get in touch and we'll see you next season.